we've done a video on the Build a Beamer series, but yeah, I think it's time to play a little bit of catch up. Nick and I sit there and we tinker with the car, and at the end of the day we look back and we think we actually haven't done much, and then when we consider it in a little bit more detail, we realize that there's always a lot of small changes that we're making, and I'm quite sure that you guys would be interested to see what we've been up to. So the last time we had the car out was actually not a race event. It was a so-called, a filmed event called Racing with Celebs, which is a series which runs here in South Africa. So it was really an opportunity for us to just get some free track time. The idea there is that the BMW Car Club invites a celebrity along. They give them the ins and outs of racing and let them drive the car club race car under controlled conditions, and they get a couple of us to drive along with them, just to turn it into something exciting and interesting for them. So at that event, they went and stuck action cams all over the car and probably pulled the paint off the middle of the bumper, which we were quite grumpy about, but I think it just shows how bad my paint preparation was, because the paint should have stuck. And then of course this is our brand new bumper. The last one is the one I put into the wall at Kailami, and straight after the very first event, Vic managed to put a rock through the front of this thing. So I think this bumper is going to be bad luck, but let's see, maybe we can keep the rest of it together. But while we've got the car in the lift, let me show you a couple of things that we've been up to. So you'll remember at the last event, we've had a couple of nagging problems which we couldn't get rid of. So the overheating problem and the front end shutter, which was there since Kailami, and we were battling to get to the bottom of it. So we changed a lot of stuff, and I'm happy to report that it looks like both of those are resolved. And that's only with street testing, and obviously we can't do anything too crazy on the road. But it is looking promising, and the front end shutter does certainly seem to be gone. So Nick, let's come and have a look underneath and just remind everybody what we've done. So the first thing is, you'll recall I posted a video on the new control arms. We've put the Melee HD control arms in there, and you'll remember, if you haven't seen that video, have a look. But I do a side-by-side comparison of these control arms next to the ones which came out. The ones which came out, I didn't know what brand they were, but these things are substantially beefier. So they are more expensive, about twice the price of the other aftermarket units, but we put them in. The thing though that I thought was causing the issue was these stupid poly rear control arm bushes. So what I've put back in here is the Melee HD units which Nick had put in some time ago. So these are quite old as it happens, but they're working better than these rubbish things. So what we were seeing is that the red poly section was basically getting pressed out of the unit. So when I inspected it, the red bit was sticking out by about 5 mil. Now it still seemed to be very snug in there, but you know, it's not a tapered fit, but this is what was happening effectively. And that can't be right. So anyway, we'll chuck these out. I think they're rubbish, and off we go. So in getting rid of the shutter, we just realized we can't afford to solve one problem at a time or try one thing at a time, because we end up getting to the track and we realize we haven't resolved it. So we decided we're changing the control arms, we're changing those damn rear bushes, we're changing the brakes. We decided to do a complete brake refresh. So there's new rotors on here. We still have the original pads, but those pads have still probably got another 5, 6, 7 races in them. So we changed everything we literally could get to. All the other bits and pieces have been done. While I'm on the subject though of poly bushes, we're getting quite a lot of gear lever slop, the gear lever running around kind of inside the car, and that's obviously because as the powertrain shifts, the gear lever is moving because it's attached now directly to the gearbox. It's a direct shift lever. So we decided to go and put poly bushes in for the engine mounts and for the gearbox mounts. So these are the gearbox mount jobbies, and they're actually very soft. You can move them around quite easily. So it's easy to see why you get a lot of movement on the gearbox from those mounts. And then Nick had found a bad mount, a collapsed mount. So he replaced it with this nice new one, just I think before we went down to Pakisa, something like that. And anyway, so we took them out. When I took the other one out, which Nick thought was a good one, take a look at that. So that's how these guys collapse. And I mean, this has lost probably 10 mil, at least 10 mil of height, maybe 15 mil, 20 mil. So these guys, I think they're fluid filled. There was no sign of any fluid around them, but they just squashed. So what's in here right now? If you can get a shot in here, Nick. I don't know how you can get a look at those boykies. But yeah, I mean, they're just very, very simple round cylinders of polyester, polyethylene, whatever the hell they are. And unlike the actual mounts that we have, the two pins are aligned, which I don't think is 100% correct. So there's no offset as they are on the originals. So I think it's kind of moved the engine a little bit. I think it's moved it about 5 mil to the back, but it seems fine. The one thing though that you'll notice if you do this change, guys, is the amount of vibration that the OEM mounts take out of the cabin is not to be underestimated. When we first started the car after replacing these mounts, we thought there was something wrong. It just feels like metal on metal grinding. The mechanical, you just feel like every mechanical action going on inside this powertrain. So it really gets rough inside here. So yeah, I mean, these cars look all nice and they sound smooth and everything from the outside, but they're rougher than a bear's ass once you're inside and kind of got them running on. So yeah, I think that was all I wanted to. Oh no, I didn't. So the other thing we wanted to do, as I said, was a brake refresh. Because I was going to do discs, I thought that was a great opportunity to get the calipers off, to redo the seals, to redo the guide pins and the little slidey jobbies inside there. And then I thought, well, if I've got the calipers off, then I might as well do the brake lines. So yeah, Nick, get a shot in here, perhaps from this side. So this is looking all super sexy now. Hard to believe this is a 30-year-old car with our BC Racing struts, our nicely refreshed calipers with a nice coat of ceramic silver paint on them. The new braided brake lines, which are Goodrich from the UK, they're assembled locally by International Race Supplies, which is just down the road from us. And of course the nice new control arm. So this looks really sexy, and of course with a new rim behind it in the background with our new 18s. So yeah, I mean, we haven't shown you these rims on the car yet. I don't think we are really so excited about these new 18-inch, they're 265 35 18s, I think. So we've gone up by 14 mil on tread width, which is great. The offset of these things was funny, so we've had some really big challenges in terms of fender clearance. We've rolled the rears to hell and back, which is fine. We've got no problem there. With the fronts, we actually ended up destroying a tire while we were experimenting with fitment. We hooked the fender on the other side, then pulled out a piece of metal, a little lip there, which was effectively like a scalpel blade, and it simply slashed the tire around the edge. It's up here at the moment, but still could get that unmounted. So yeah, we just can't take a chance with that. Some of the cuts in this tire are probably about 6 or 7 millimeters deep, and it goes all the way around. So that was a bummer. But yeah, we picked up a new tire on Friday, so we'll get that mounted. So yeah, Nick, I think that was pretty much what we wanted to tell everybody about this time. So yeah, hope that's of interest. We obviously did the same at the back. I don't know if you're interested to have a little peek, but we also did the brake lines. Our sexy green to match our blue control arms, or camber links, and there I didn't have the silver paint, I had the blue paint. So we got blue calipers at the back and silver at the front, just for what it's worth. But it's all looking nice and fresh.
What did you find with the new RBF 660 when you did the brake fluid flush?
Yeah, that's bloody interesting actually. That's I buy tools. Nick always laughs at me. I don't go a week without buying a tool, and I found this brake moisture tester pen thing at the local Midas, 2 probes and whatnot. So I thought, well, that's a great idea, because you never really know when your brake fluid needs to be replaced. And of course the RBF 600, 660, now they've got a 7 or 700 or something. The stuff's expensive. So we done the fluid flush probably, middle of last year, sometime I think it was. So I presumed the fluid was good, and so I decided to test it, and it told me the fluid was crap. So that it had absorbed moisture. So I thought this pen's probably rubbish. So I went and tested it in some new standard brake fluid, and it came up good. And I thought, well, maybe it's something peculiar to the RB660. So I poured some fresh brake fluid, RBF660 in a glass, tested that, and it was good. So it turned out that whatever I had sitting in the reservoir had actually absorbed some moisture. So we just did a final bleed this morning and took some fluid out. And I'll come over here and we can demonstrate it on a little shank spot. Sorry about that. Let's go over here. Sorry about the mess. Now, this is what's come out. And don't be fooled, the RB660 is a dark fluid. So this is normally how your fluid would look if you had a standard brake fluid. After a couple of years, it starts to go kind of yellowy, orange colored like that. But that is what the RB660 looks like. If I take some fresh stuff, you'll see it's really not very much of a different color at all. So pretty much the same thing. But if you look closely, you'll note that the stuff I took out, which is literally some months old, is slightly cloudier. And if I take my little pen and you push the button at the back, and you select which kind of fluid you have, we've got a .4 based fluid, and I dip it in the older stuff, and there it tells me it's picking up moisture in there, which is very, very interesting. And if I then pop it into the new stuff, just wait for it to reset. Hopefully, otherwise this whole video is going to pot. Now, it's good. So that's amazing. I quite like that pen. I think it's a great little purchase. I think it cost 400 Rand or something like that. But yeah, it allows you to get some kind of input into whether your fluid has started to absorb moisture or not. So great. All right, guys. So hopefully that's a bunch of little tidbits to enjoy, and yeah, we'll bring you up to speed with some of the other little bits and pieces we've been busy with. Cheers, until next time.